Well, it happened, and I'm sure you've all watched James Gunn talk about his new lineup for DC. If not, I put the link in the description below. So you guessed it, this week's show will be pretty DC heavy, and I want to link a few issues that I think will jump or have jumped in value due to this news, and tie it all back to comic spec. Don't worry, I'll still mention a few of the other stories that piqued my interest this week too. But first, can I ask you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel? Please tell your friends so we can convert more people to the geek side of life. Anyway, just stick around till after the intro and we're gonna get right into it. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Comic Cave. What a week it's been. James Gunn set the comic market alight with his slate announcement of all the new DC projects we're going to get. But we'll get into all that just now. No point in me rehashing exactly what he said, but I thought maybe I could work on what this could mean for the wider DC universe, the characters, and definitely the comics. So let's start off with the other news, and then we'll get into DC a little bit later. So if you're a manga or anime fan, you'd probably be super excited for the live action One Piece. It's due to come out this year on Netflix. The posters look pretty awesome, and I think the mainstream are going to love Monkey D. Luffy once they meet him. Jeffrey Dean Morgan has teased a role in the second season of Invincible. So he put up this picture, and if you haven't read the comics yet, I did a segment on it. They are brilliant. So the compendiums he's leaning on are a cheaper and easier way to read the whole story, and you don't have to worry about if you miss an issue or missing a piece of it. We're still waiting to get season 3 of Witcher on Netflix, featuring Henry Cavill as Geralt of Rivia. But we know Liam Hemsworth will take over from season 4. The news this week was that they're looking to conclude the whole story arc in season 5, but that would be if they get that far. If you've been following the Turtles in the comics, in Last Ronin issue 5, we were introduced to 4 new baby Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So essentially the next generation. They're raised by April and Casey's daughter. Casey was their master. So it's 2 boys and 2 girl turtles. Yi is kind of like Donatello. Odin is like Michelangelo. Uno is a darker version of Leonardo, and Moja is a mix of Jenica and Raphael. On to Marvel rumors, and again, the castings around the new Fantastic Four movie are swirling. Ryan Gosling is possibly going to play a role. We don't know who yet. People have been saying possibly Doctor Doom, and that would be great, but I'm hoping it's going to be someone really unexpected, maybe like Super Skrull. Dev Patel is apparently the top choice now for Mr. Fantastic. You might remember him from Slumdog Millionaire. I'd love to see more Indian faces in big roles, but I know there'll be quite a bit of pushback from the old school fanboys due to the race bending of major characters. It kind of tracks though, an Indian as the smartest scientist in the world. Anyway, Marvel's first trans actor Zoe Terakes has spoken out about their representation in the MCU. We don't know what role they'll play yet, but we do know it's going to be an Ironheart. In the interview, the Australian spoke about transgendered people belonging at the table with the big guys. We've seen this week that Doctor Strange 3 is rumored to have been fast-tracked, so it's going to air before Secret Wars. Now obviously there's an integral piece there that needs to pull things together before the next big event, and I have a sneaky suspicion I know what it is. In the X-Men comics this week, well, it's an old trick, but now you can vote online as to who you want to see as the newest X-Men, well, X-Man, to join the team. So the options are Jubilee, Prodigy, Juggernaut, Dazzler, Cannonball, or Frenzy. So you just use the hashtag X-Men vote. I guess it's worth a shot to try reinvigorate the run. Comic publishers have tried tricks like these since the 80s. I mean, I remember seeing if Robin would live or die in the Death of the Family run. I think that was Batman 426 to 429. But then the fans had to write in letters and mail them in. How times have changed. Now, onto the big news, and as you saw on Tuesday, James Gunn came out with a video talking about his and Peter Safran's vision for the next phase of the DC Universe. And that's going to span over the next 8 to 10 years. Let me explain. There's a group of 5 architects, as he's calling them, and they've been tasked to help James Gunn and Peter Safran build this universe. So there's epic comic book writer Tom King, Drew Goddard, who created the Daredevil series on Netflix, Christina Hodson, who wrote Birds of Prey and the new Flash movie, and that sounds like it's going to be the most amazing movie ever, if even just half the rumors are true. Then there's Jeremy Slater. He just did Moon Knight, and Crystal Henry, and she wrote the Watchmen series. So it sounds like they're looking to bring out 2 big continuity movies and 2 series a year, but that doesn't include the stuff they've termed Elseworld projects, and those include the likes of Joker 2 and the Matt Reeves Batman movies. So he only announced a few key projects. Chapter 1 is going to be called Gods and Monsters, and for those of you who may have heard that title before, there's a good reason. It's not the first time they've been used words like DC Elseworlds or Gods and Monsters, but I digress. Creature Commandos will kick off the start of the new vision, and this will be a 7-episode animated series that's already been written by James Gunn, and the team will consist of Rick Flag Sr., Nina Mazursky, Dr. Phosphorus, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, G.I. Robot, and of course Weasel. We've seen Weasel before in the Suicide Squad movie. Now, this one might premiere in 2024, but it isn't confirmed yet. What I think is really cool is that the actors that he gets to voice these characters will also play them when they get a live action appearance. So it's almost like a mixed media universe that he's creating where people can follow the storyline through different forms of storytelling. So in terms of comics to look out for, even though, I think there's been a mad frenzy over the last week just to grab them all. The big ones to look out for are Weird War Tales issue 93 from 1980, and that's the first appearance of the Creature Commandos, and it's also the first solo run that you can look out for. I remember that was in 2000, and it came out as an 8-issue series. Both of those first have multiple appearances. Next up on the timeline is Superman Legacy. So this is where their new universe really starts. We know this one's going to hit the theaters on the 11th of July 2025, and it's the only project that actually got a set date. Gunn wrote it, and he also wants to direct it, but honestly, I think he might be overloading himself. It's going to be impossible to juggle heading up the studio and producing the content for it too. So this is going to have a brand new Superman who's living in Metropolis, where there are already other superheroes in Metropolis. So thankfully, it isn't another origin story. But he's going to focus more on how he balances his normal job at the Daily Planet with his superpowers and how he handles real-world problems and relationships. Of course, all that within the backdrop of his Kryptonian heritage. Jacob Elordi seems to be the name on everyone's lips so far to be the new Superman, but there's no concrete evidence yet. And hear me out, instead of Dave Bautista being cast in DC as Bane, which would be perfect for his size. Maybe we see him as the new Lex Luthor. So for this one, we've seen a sharp uptick in All-Star Superman issue 1, and that's currently being sold as everywhere. But I think that was also mainly because Gunn teased that image of him having a cup of coffee with the graphic novel. But now he said it's going to show Superman's characteristics as outlined in All-Star Superman, with his greatest weakness being his inability to kill anyone. The print run on that book was pretty high, so personally I would avoid jumping on that train for now, rather avoid the FOMO, because you've got more than 2 years to get the issue if you really want it. The next series he spoke about is Waller. Now that's going to bring back Viola Davis as Amanda Waller in almost a bridge between season 1 and season 2 of Peacemaker. We know we're going to be getting John Cena back in season 2 along with many of the original cast, but Gunn didn't find time to write season 2 yet. So he's brought on Crystal Henry, who wrote Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who created Doom Patrol, and they're going to be writing it now. So for me, this is an easy comic pick. I think I've got about 6 copies of it. It's Legends issue 1 from 1986, and that has her first appearance. But I remember this was literally $1 comic, and it wasn't too long ago either. You can still find tons of them in back issue boxes, and it's because it doesn't have her on the front cover or say her name, so many comic pickers who don't know it might just miss it and rifle right through, so you just have to go hunting. Onto the movie that has everyone talking because it was a real blindside, The Authority. Now, this hasn't ever been explored by DC before because it was a Wildstorm comic. So essentially, they're a team with very blurred moral and ethical lines, meaning that they're going to do pretty much whatever it takes to get the job done. I still remember Lobo versus the Authority, the 2-part special, and that was a series that came out in the 90s. It makes things super interesting because James Gunn said that he'd like to incorporate more Wildstorm characters if possible. So that could mean we see Midnighter, Deathblow, or maybe even groups like Wildcats and Stormwatch. So there's tons to spec on there. I'll leave that to you though. The issue that everyone is currently jumping for is The Authority issue 1, and well, that's what it looks like. And it's their first appearance. Again, it's another issue where you might find 10 copies in a back issue box somewhere, because I don't think many people ever thought this would reach the mainstream. So it was always $1 book at best. Well, at least I thought so. My favorite project that was announced is hands down Booster Gold. Now, this is going to be a series, and well, it's about a loser who comes back from the future and uses his advanced technology to try and be a superhero. I mean, he has a robot, and well, it's a sidekick named Skeet. I don't know how the series is going to handle all the nuances of it, but I love Gunn's sense of humor on his I suppose all his other projects have had that element of comedy. So I think this is going to be like a serious hit. Booster Gold's first appearance is in Booster Gold issue 1 from 1986. They're currently talking to an actor for the role. There haven't been any leaks yet as to whom it may be, but I think it might just be Chris Pratt. I could really see him working in a role like that. Then onto The Brave and the Bold, a Batman story, and that's going to be based off Grant Morrison's comic book run. So that's one where Damian Wayne, so son of Talia al Ghul and Bruce, he's an 8 to 10-year-old boy raised in blood by the League of Assassins. So he meets his father, Batman, and wants vengeance. A new character or a new actor is going to be cast as Batman because we know Batfleck, well, he's done and he's been dropped. We also know that other members of the Bat family are going to be in this movie, but here's my fan casting for Robin. And if you've watched any of the Umbrella Academy, you're going to know why. For comics, Batman 655 is the first cameo appearance of Damian Wayne. Batman 656 is his first full appearance, even though he only appears in the final panel of the comic, but it is the more expensive and sought after one. Then 657 has his first cover appearance. But personally, if you're looking at future spec, I suggest you look at issue 666, because that's where we see Damian Wayne become the new Batman in a story that's set 15 years in the future. It's also the first appearance of Professor Pig. Next up, we have Lanterns, and I know my friend Miguel is freaking out. So it's going to follow two Green Lanterns, Hal Jordan and John Stewart, as type of a grimy cop show like True Detective, but they're super cops on Precinct Earth. But big things are revealed that are interwoven into the whole DC universe that are going to kind of explain things. Now, the two comics, they're not cheap and have been going way out of reach for normal people for quite a while now. So I would just personally speculate that they're going to use this as a launch pad for the next generation of Green Lanterns that also fit the modern woke rhetoric. So my comic picks for this one are the first appearance of Simon Baz, and he actually appears in the free Comic Book Day book from 2012, so that's the new 52 issue. Then the first appearance of Sojourner Mullion, and her first appearance is in Far Sector 1. And finally, the obvious one for me would be the first appearance of Jessica Cruz, and that's one I've been waiting to blow up. I've been picking up her first apps whenever I got the chance, and you'll find her cameo in Green Lantern issue 20, but her first full appearance in Justice League issue 30. Okay, only 3 left, and I'll graze over these so we aren't here all day. But Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and this one will be from Tom King and his comic run. But instead of her being all bright and bubbly like we've seen previously, the world has kind of rolled her, and she sat on a rock for 14 years and watched all the people she loved and her world die around her. So I can expect this is where we're going to get a slightly darker and, well, not what we're used to being associated with Supergirl. The last series we learnt about was Paradise Lost, and this one will be set in Themyscira before the birth of Diana Prince. And he described it as a Game of Thrones-like saga where we get to understand the politics, culture, and I guess more the world that Wonder Woman comes from. As for Gal Gadot, they have spoken to her, but we don't know if she will reprise her role or if someone new is going to pick up that mantle. The last movie we heard about was Swamp Thing, and wow, I think it's going to explore the dark origins of Swamp Thing, but I'm hoping we're going to follow the line that the previous way over budget series like that set, or even go with more of a horror angle, and just for it to be a stepping stone to introduce the Justice League in the later chapters of their vision. So it stands to reason that House of Secrets issue 92, which is absolutely massive, that's going to see traction. I'm glad I grabbed a copy years ago. But I prefer the speculation angle. So I'm predicting big future movement for HAWKMAN 4. That's the first appearance of Zatanna. Swamp Thing 37, the first appearance of Constantine, and Strange Adventures issue 205. And that's the first appearance of Deadman. Now, I could go on with more spec, like possibly seeing the inclusion of Detective Chimp, Shade the Changing Man, Etrigan the Demon, or Spectre. But I'm going to leave that up to you to try and figure out who you think might be part of the new Justice League Dark. So let me know who you think could be part of the team. Drop a comment below. And I think that's it, everyone. It's kind of a longer show than I'm used to doing, but I felt like I just had to. I'm so excited that DC will finally get their time to shine and truly rival Marvel and the whole MCU like they should have from the beginning. Ezra Miller's Flash movie will reset the universe, and then let's see what this next phase of Warner Brothers can really do. I mean, I hope they can finally challenge Disney in something more than just the superhero animation division. I'll be sure to keep you up to date weekly with any developments, but this is a great way to reinvigorate fans and bring some fire back to those DC properties. Thank you all for watching. Please leave a comment below and say hi. But till next time, geek responsibly, and we'll catch you on the side of the flipping. Okay, bye.